Welcome back to Artsworld. We're at one of London's most famous galleries, Tate Modern, standing in front of the latest of the Unilever series, a massive spider sculpture.
And now, from the gigantic to the tiny, next we meet pioneering Lebanese artists who use tiny clay sculptures to get across a very political message.
I expect to deliver a message without the need of talking.
Jad Khouri is Lebanon's first graphic novelist. For almost 3 decades, his newspaper comics, television cartoons and clay animated films have captured a uniquely Beirut experience.
What I usually work on is what I remember of, like testimonial elements. Maybe because it's a reaction to the war that we lived, I don't know. I know we need to have always this reference to the place that we are afraid of losing, of the little details that we are afraid that another war will wipe away.
In the late 1980s, Jad formed a group of young Beirut artists who chronicled the life of their city in darkly brilliant graphic novels. Since then, he and his team have pioneered the art of clay animation in Lebanon. Their most recent creation is a Beirut everyman called Atta. Lina Riba was Atta's initial creator.
So we knew we wanted to create this popular character who was very wise but not intellectual, who was loved by all and blunders and goes against the system. He does what he wants, but you always tend to like him. And he's the anti-hero, sort of.
With clay animation, we went back to feel a texture of clay.
You have to think just in terms of, keep him plain colors because you don't want the Play-Doh to mess up when you're moving it around, so you can't have checked shirts and striped pants and so on.
Atta is a tribute to the average man in Beirut, which, like most cities, tends to immortalize only the powerful.
He is more or less a figure, an image that is in every brain of a Beiruti. This is what we call sometimes the collective consciousness of an ideogram, that people can project or recognize themselves through.
It's the magic fingers of Suhaib Bala'a who first started the clay animation sculpting. The making of Atta is the latest artistic phase for Jad and his team. Clay animations are produced through a stop-motion technique using a digital camera. Thousands of still images are imported into a computer and then exported to video. For a 90-second clip, Jad's team must work 4 to 6 weeks. Animated films are the most recent phase of Khouri's distinguished career. He began a tradition of comics for adults when the art was unknown both in Lebanon and the wider Arab world.
The aim was to address the adults with this medium that is the comics, and address the adults and make the comics really as a form of art with a big A. For me, it was like that. It was my political, my social, and my artistic medium to express myself.
Adult comics in 1980s Beirut were revolutionary.
I was considered like the terrorist who's coming to the established art. What are you talking about? That comics is the new form of art?
The experience of daily life in Beirut informs the personal and often intimate storylines of the group's work.
It was art imitating life. It was Civil War Beirut, so it was heavily related to the area. It was what we were living. It was our influences, whether they're the street signs and the gunshots and the holes in the buildings.
all what we try to integrate in our claymation, in our animation, in the comics that I used to do. For me, I have to preserve the memory of a city that I don't know. So I need something, at least virtual, to keep.
Finally, slam poetry is rhythmic performance street poetry born out of the South Side of Chicago.
Artsworld went to America to meet the guy who pioneered this form of expression.
Welcome to the slam, everybody. This is the first slam. There are slams all over the world. There are slams in London, Ireland, South Pole, Singapore, Australia, Madagascar, Fargo, North Dakota, Berwyn, Springfield, Kalamazoo. They all started here, and I'm the guy that started them. My name's Mark Smith. What makes your slam different than your ordinary poetry reading is that you, the audience, are always in control.
We haven't always been close for, not, you know, we were close when you're growing up, but then we kind of broke off.
Yep.
And this was like the step back into, and we really worked pretty good together, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. This is a new mic, so we'll see if you like it.
The blues when swinging trumpets blow goes blue as red, the rhythm cuts the rain with saucy cinder beats and blackbirds hop the hi-hat lines. It's a scat's matter scene.
In cellar grays where notes collide, the bulb's half eclipse cleaves a brain, and death the wailing madman cries, leaves me half-breaths, baby.
Lilliputans who wore heavy coats were marked for mockery. Scarves were an invitation to be choked.
Circle one another, take shots at the other's defenses.
It pushes past the pills and all the cheap thrills of knowledge is powered.
My black Superman, my volcano of work. It's like yesterday never happened or tomorrow doesn't need thinking about. The music is just there.
I am so fragmented, I've begun to believe all mirrors are broken. I am stable. I am unfixable.
Working with you and like being able to find that way to like express myself it was probably the best thing.
You take the technique, you take the writing that you did, you take the ideas, but then there's something deep inside your soul or your spirit or whatever it is that brings it and makes it so completely alive. So
before the bread cools down, smear it with sweet salted butter and smash it with your fingers. Crumble it up in a bowl of collard greens or buttermilk. Forget that I'm telling you, it's the first thing I ever cooked, that my daddy was laughing and breathing and no bullet in his head when he taught me. Mix it till it looks like quicksand, he'd say, till it moves like a slow song sounds.
It's really important how the poem hits the air for me. I got one shot. It might be 3 minutes, might be 5, might be 1, but I got that one shot. And I don't think of it as performing. It's like, this is my mode of transport for poems now.
for me at the beginning, that's what it was all about. Poets do not know how to take the good ideas and the good writing they have and transport it to an audience so that the audience can get it.
So bend that note like your first drink of water in days. Break its neck over the boots of the dead. Sing it at the broken walls of Fallujah and listen for the echo. Practice your harmonica every night so the night will hear you.
Of the mill and talk, because it was also a social thing, so we'd be like, blah, 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 and Mark would come back and we would feel like our father had just come. We won't talk anymore in the back of the room. You know?
Hangs with the blackbirds. Up on those high hot lines.
Up on those high hot lines. It's a dead man's crooked thing.
I wrote that before I was anything. That when I hadn't met anybody. It's like this
feeling of destiny that you got gonna get this out, I ran off copies of that poem on sticky paper. I'd go to all the taverns downtown and I'd stick it on the bathroom walls.
For me, there was a turning point where I understood that art is not just this thing for art. If it's not changing people in a real way, what's the point?
Wow, I love slam poetry.
Well, that's it from us here in beautiful, windy London.
Thank you for watching Artsworld with us, Poetic Pilgrimage.
Check you later.
See you later.